Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado, proudly calling Colorado home for over 90 years. Dedicated to showing up for the community and putting people first. Credit Union of Colorado. Learn more at cuofco.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where you can shop online and get easy delivery or free pickup. Get the same prices, deals, and rewards as in-store. Shop the weekly ad, clip deals, and earn points at Safeway.com or in the Safeway app.
For the first time on an interstate in Colorado, this weekend, speed cameras will start catching lead-footed drivers. Heads up if you drive on I-25 north of Metro Denver. 8 new automated cameras have been placed along a work zone between Meade and Berthoud. Starting Sunday, they'll snap pictures of drivers going more than 10 miles over the speed limit. For the next month, those drivers will get a warning in the mail, but after that, they'll get fined $75. This could impact a lot of drivers if people don't start slowing down. A test run of those cameras found more than 10% of vehicles would have been ticketed for speeding. I'm Bazi Kanani.
And I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel. Coming up, it's been a scary week for fire danger on the Front Range.
Here, we're about a mile and a half from where this fire started. This is as close as we could get.
Then, the mayor of Denver is ordering ICE to stay off city property.
Denverites ask me every day, what will we do if that chaos comes to Denver?
Plus, parents are turning back to an old technology to keep their kids safe and teaching them social skills. Landlines.
Well, the first time I ever called somebody, I just called them because I wanted to use the phone.
It's Friday, February 27th. Here's the news in Colorado today.
You could see it from miles away on Wednesday, a black plume of wildfire smoke that closed part of I-25 near Thornton. Jason Roll was right there.
Literally, I was probably 5 to 10 feet away from it, trying to just prevent it from coming through the fence, but it got so big so fast, there's nothing I could do.
While the building was unscathed, more than 100 cars out back of Roll's motorsports shop were quickly engulfed in flames. He and his colleagues tried to save what they could.
Looking back and just the flames billowing over the car, I had to go, had to get out of there because it's like I started hyperventilating and just driving the car out. My legs are shaking, I could barely operate the car to get it up the hill.
It's been a bad week for wildfire conditions across the Front Range and the Eastern Plains. Nearly every day this week, quick-moving grass fires have put communities on edge. And wildfire danger is expected to stay elevated through today with a red flag warning in place along most of the I-25 corridor and much of the plains until about 6 p.m. Here's Bruno Rodriguez, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Boulder.
Things should start to taper off over the weekend. We're still going to be fairly mild. Not expecting any precipitation over the weekend either, but we'll be able to moderate on that wind front. So those winds will be weakening pretty substantially, especially by the time we get to Sunday.
There is some hope on the horizon. Rodriguez says by Tuesday or Wednesday, parts of the state could see some more precipitation. It's not a guarantee, but it is an improvement.
Certainly looks like we have better potential for some rain or snow for the lower elevations as well, not just the mountains. So this would be potentially region-wide.
After thousands of federal law enforcement agents descended on Minneapolis last month, people in cities across the country have been wondering, what if it happens here?
We've seen Americans like Renee Good and Alex Preddy killed for peacefully raising their voices. And Denverites ask me every day, what will we do if that chaos comes to Denver?
Mayor Mike Johnston answered that question, at least in part, on the steps of the city and county building yesterday afternoon. Denverite's Kyle Harris was there.
So Mayor Mike Johnston basically says that, first of all, ICE cannot stage itself on city-owned property in order to do enforcement actions. If ICE engages in excessive force, if they attack residents, the Denver Police Department will intervene. They'll try to de-escalate, but they may actually cite or arrest someone. The executive order also says that Denver law enforcement can provide necessary medical attention to folks, even if they've been harmed by ICE. And if ICE tries to interfere with that, an officer could actually be arrested or cited for that as well.
For example,
let's say someone's working at the office and ICE decides, hey, we want to detain that person. ICE comes in, things get escalated, ICE begins to beat the person. Denver police shows up to the scene. They see ICE engaged in violence against a resident. It appears to be excessive force, and they will try to de-escalate the situation. Additionally, let's say ICE decides to intervene in protests and begins to try to suppress people's First Amendment rights. Again, Denver police would be there to protect the First Amendment rights of residents from what they describe as federal overreach. One of the questions I have is if you have a scenario where you have two law enforcement agencies, both armed, both ready to use deadly force, believing that each other is violating the law, is that not a potential civil war? And it seems like an extreme question, but I did ask Chief Ron Thomas, is that something to be concerned about? And he said,
I think that is a reasonable concern, but again, we are expert in de-escalation. That is our value. That is what we will lead with. And so
that's what they've been working on. That has been a driving value of the department. And so their hope is that de-escalation works here. The question I have is, will the federal government be as committed to de-escalation in this political moment? And as we've seen in Minneapolis, the answer is not always.
One question that came up during Johnston's announcement is whether the executive order was poking the bear and inviting a confrontation between the city and the federal government.
And his answer was no.
We are not looking to create hostility or to create conflict or to escalate. But when it comes to protecting people's rights, they swear an oath to do that, and they're going to keep doing that.
And, the city attorney says, well, these executive orders are absolutely legal, absolutely enforceable. And we'll see if that's true. And if the federal government shares that interpretation, this is pretty odd, right? It's very rare to see law enforcement agencies mobilizing to enforce the law against other law enforcement agencies. And so there's a lot that we don't know about how this plays out. But what we do know is that there are armed people on two sides of an issue, both asserting that they have the authority of the law. And how this plays out is entirely unknown.
Do you remember learning how to use a phone for the very first time? I do. It was a rotary phone. I remember the sound of the spinning dial, the frustration of messing up one number and having to start all over again. And of course, being blindsided when it's my friend's mom who answers, and suddenly I forget how to talk.
Can you come play Nintendo?
Well, most kids now will never know any of this. Heck, they're skipping straight to texting. But not everyone thinks that is a good thing. CPR's Allison Sherry is here to tell us about the latest old tech that is making a comeback. Allison, you recently signed up for something called the Tin Can Phone, which is essentially a modern landline designed just for kids. So what's it like?
It looks and feels just like the phones of our days, Arlo. It's the shape of a tin can, but it's multicolored. It runs on Wi-Fi, but you can't walk around. It's not cordless. You have to plug it into the wall. It doesn't have a screen, doesn't have apps. There's no texting. It has the old school dial tone. And the idea is that families who don't have a landline anymore or even know where their landline would be in their house have a way for their kids to communicate with friends without all the temptations of taking mom or dad's smartphone.
Okay, but why not just get a landline?
Yeah, that's a good question. One is that they're a little bit more expensive than this thing was. It's also a parental control thing. This is a company that is geared for kids. So parents control through an app, which there is some irony there, right?
Yes, of course.
Parents control through an app exactly what numbers their child can call and who can call in.
And that is something that more families are getting into, right?
Yes, it's huge. This company, the Tin Can, is one of about a half dozen nationally that are very much like this. They're just kind of a burgeoning little industry right now. And I talked to Chet Kittleson, who founded the company in Seattle. And he said in the last 14 months since he's founded it, just kind of very, techie startup company, he cannot keep up with the demand just from word of mouth.
I'd go into a house, set it up, I'd meet them, I'd talk about how it all works. By the time I left, I would have like 5 or 6 text messages from their friends saying, hey, I heard you're at Allison's house right now setting up this thing. How do I get one?
Allison, I've heard that millennials are the last generation to have meaningful memories of the pre-tech world. What effects does that have?
Yeah, I mean, there's been so much reporting about the concerns, and there's just this huge growing body of research that smartphones for really early adolescents and all the way up even until they're up to 16, 17 have been linked to, rates of depression, obesity, poor sleep. There's a lot of data out there, and I was talking to Chet Kittleson about this and how taking phones away from kids did kind of then create, though, another problem.
Okay, great, you don't have a cell phone, but now you have nothing, and that's not good either because now you feel isolated and you're not learning how to use your voice.
So I think we know that phones can be extremely useful, but I think we need to understand, how to sort of let kids communicate without the screen part.
And you also talk to other parents as well, right?
Yeah, I talked to a lot of parents in Seattle and Denver. This is Lauren Zobek. She is a nurse and the parent of 2 kids.
They were like aliens when they first got it. Like they were like holding it out here. That day, my phone was blowing up with people I didn't even know that were like, hey, I want in on this. It just shows like how much they need this.
Now, I know your thoughts on this phone, but I know that you brought along your household expert to tell us what she thinks about it.
I did. This is Millie. She's almost 10 years old. She's a 4th grader.
Hey there, Millie.
Hi.
So, Millie, what do you think about the Tin Can?
Well, I really like it, and I like being able to talk to my friends.
I love that. So, Millie, think back to the first time you used it. Were you nervous to talk to your friends?
Yeah. Well, the first time I ever called somebody, I just called them because I wanted to use the phone. So I didn't really have anything to say, and I didn't know how to, ask questions or say hello or goodbye, or even say that it was Millie who was calling.
Wow. Have things gotten easier since then?
Yes.
So it definitely is helping. Millie, and I'm going to ask you this question, but it's also to your mom. Has this changed how you feel about getting a cell phone?
No.
Why not?
I still want a cell phone because, I can't only call.
You mean a cell phone, you can do other things?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Like change my face into a giraffe emoji.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CPR's Allison, Sherry, and Millie, thank you so much.
Thank you, Arlo.
Thank you.
Reporting for today's show also came from Denverites Kevin Beatty and CPR's Sam Brash and Madeline Rose.
Mark your calendars for Tuesday night, March 10th. That's when we hope you'll join us for a live event featuring A. Martinez from NPR's Up First. You'll learn more about what goes into sharing the news each day in a national and local podcast. Tickets at cpr.org/Colorado Today Live. We also have a link in the show notes. I'm Bazi Kanani.
And I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where you can shop online and get easy delivery or free pickup. Get the same prices, deals, and rewards as in-store. Shop the weekly ad, clip deals, and earn points at Safeway.com or in the Safeway app.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado, proudly calling Colorado home for over 90 years. Dedicated to showing up for the community and putting people first. Credit Union of Colorado. Learn more at cuofco.org.